In today's video, we're going to be building out this n8n workflow in front of us that does two things. The first thing is that it's going to go ahead and automatically generate blog posts so that we can publish that straight onto places like WordPress. And then the second thing that we're going to do over here is be able to take those blog posts that we generate and then syndicate that or publish those blog posts across all of our social media channels to be able to promote it. So as an example, this is kind of like the blog post that we're going to be generating in this video. Now you can see that they're completely styled. We have pictures in here, we have titles, we have all different types of stuff here. It looks pretty good. This is 100% generated by AI. The best part about this kind of stuff is we're going to use human in the loop. Personally, I don't like just randomly publishing blog posts or social media content without at least proving it first, just because I want to make sure that any content I send out there, I'm actually proud of. And so we're going to build out a Google Sheet like this, where we're going to have to approve, first of all, whether we want to create the blog post based on a particular keyword. And also if we want to publish that blog post onto social media, all we have to do is check boxes and it will go to work for us and get it done. And here's the kind of results that I've gotten from it. Now, with my last business, when we were in the process of doing blogging, we started off at around 10 clicks a month, or sorry, 10 clicks a day. And that was before the start of this graph here, just before it. And we got all the way up to 1,500 clicks every single day. And so these are the kind of results that we got from doing this exact system here. Now, we're going to be walking through exactly how to find winning keywords in this video so that you can expedite this process as quickly as possible. And then we're also going to be talking about, of course, how you can publish this content on all your platforms like X, for example, or like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, TikTok, and X as well. So with that being said, we are building this out from the ground up. We're going to be going step by step. Of course, these blueprints will be 100% free down below in the description if you guys want to copy this. And as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because if you like content like this, I'm sure you're going to like the other videos I'm producing on a nearly daily basis. With that being said, let's get into this right now. The first thing that I want to highlight here is if you guys are new to n8n, please go ahead and create a 14-day free trial over here, because you're going to need to log in. Now, once we're inside, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new scenario over here, okay? And the first thing that we need to think about when creating the scenario is, what is our trigger? Like, what's going to start this process of generating blog posts just like this, or generating social media posts? And it comes down to this Google Sheet here. So what we need to do is set up a Google Sheet like this, where anytime we click a button, okay, that will send a request over to our particular workflow to, for instance, generate a blog post, or for instance, if we click social media, then it would go ahead and it would generate those social media posts. And so we need to, first of all, create this, this Google Sheet here. Now, just before we actually dive into creating this Google Sheet, let's walk through this. We need keywords in here. We need potentially optional descriptions, which are not necessary, but if you want to add additional information about keywords, you could go ahead and do that. And this would be additional information to generate blog posts and all that kind of stuff. So we need keywords in here. And the thing is there's two ways to really get keywords in here. The first way is you could just go over to ChatGPT, for example, and you could be like, let's say you're in the plumbing industry, you could say, please generate me plumbing keywords for blogs. Now, the thing is I really don't like doing this. And the reason why I really don't like doing this and why I would never recommend anyone else doing this is because these keywords are not really high quality keywords. And the problem with something like SEO is that it could take 2, 3, 4 years to be able to actually get the results that you want. And if you spend 2 to 4 years on the wrong strategy, ranking for the wrong keywords, and then you realize 4 years down the line that you wasted all your time, that's time you're never getting back. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And so I think there's a significantly better approach to finding high quality keywords that you can ultimately rank for. And so what I did with my business is I used a tool called SEMrush, okay? And with SEMrush over here, you can sign up for a free trial. So we can just type in like free trial, and they give one for 7 days. Honestly, you don't even need to go past the 7-day free trial here. You could sign up and then cancel immediately, and you're going to be able to get all the keywords you need. Once inside, we can head over to the SEO panel over here, and we're going to go down to the keyword magic tool. And so with this keyword magic tool, it kind of feels like magic almost, in the sense, okay, maybe it doesn't, but in the sense that like you can find high quality keywords here. So let's take our plumbing example, for instance. If I just type in plumbing here, it's going to give us a list of keywords that we could potentially write blog posts about, for instance. The problem with this is, like, if you write something like plumbing near me, I'm just going to keep this at a very high level here. The keyword difficulty is 58, which means that if you're not like a world-class website that is like ranking for everything, if you're just like beginning out, on your journey in business, or even if you're just beginning in SEO, you're never going to be able to rank on for the first page for a keyword like this. Or it's not that you won't be able to, it's just very difficult to be able to do that. And same thing with like plumbers or plumber supply near me. Like all of these potential keywords here would be incredibly difficult to rank for because there's so much competition. Everyone's trying to rank for the same keywords, and it's hard to stand out when you have people that have been doing SEO for like 10 or 15 years in your niche, and they're doing that full time pretty much. And so they'll always pretty much win. So what I think the winning strategy is inside the keyword magic tool here is 3 factors. Okay. Number 1 is we want to make sure that we target keywords with a low keyword difficulty. So we can see like very hard is 85 to 100, hard is 70 to 84, possible is 30 to 49. Even the possible, if you're just starting out, this is going to be super, super difficult in my opinion. And then easy to me is like 20 or below. So I would go for keywords that are like 20 or below, because these are something that would be attainable. Like a lot of these keywords, there might not be any competition. So you could rate or rank on page 1 on the first day pretty much if you index that website, because there's just nobody else writing for that keyword. Another thing that I want to do here is, because obviously we're going for the low-hanging fruit, we also want to make sure we're not wasting our time on particular blog posts that get no traffic at all. So I want to make sure we're getting at least 100 searches every single month, but it's very easy to rank for. And the last thing is the intent of the user. And so the intent is important because we want to rank for informational keywords. If we're writing blog posts, it's got to be about informational topics. So for example, if you're trying to write a blog post about a transactional topic, like let's say somebody types in like buy Nike shoes, this is a transactional keyword because they have intent to buy. And so they're going to have like all of these listings over here, and the search results that come up, they're not going to be blogs. It's like you're not going to find a blog being like how you'd go about buying Nike shoes. It just, it's not going to be there, right? So it's transactional. And so for that purpose, we only want to rank for informational keywords, because that's how blog posts will rank. If you're trying to rank for these other categories, you're going to have a really hard or impossible time to do that, because Google's just not going to serve your content for the wrong purposes or the wrong audience. So we'll go ahead and click apply. And now we have keywords that are pretty easy to rank for, that have a decent amount of volume, and that are also for intent as well, the intent of informational. Now, the one thing that I will say about this is that you'll find like the craziest kind of searches that you didn't even know existed. It's good to know that there's 2,900 people a month searching for Eve Plum nude, but yeah, just wanted to let you guys know that. But you'll find the weirder stuff on here, and yeah, you'll just have to kind of bypass this kind of stuff, obviously, and find the results that will actually get you further ahead. And so you'll want to obviously find the top keywords. Usually on an approach like this, I'd grab like 1,000 in a week, and then I'd just rank for like 1 blog post every single day or something like that. And so you can find whatever you want, but just as an example, here's one, which would be like plumbing prices in Toronto. Okay. And so this is a great one to rank for, because there's also intent for people to purchase as well. Cool. So once you get your keywords over here, you would just export them to a Google Sheet, and you'd add them in here. And then when you're ready to go, we can go ahead and click create, and it would go ahead and create the blog post for us, which brings us to the next point here is, okay, we actually have to set this up. So the next thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a copy of this sheet, or actually I'm going to do sheets.new here, and we're going to start fresh. And I will link to this Google Sheet down below, but literally it's just going to be these header columns that we're starting with. So it's going to be keyword description, create, social media, image link, blog link, and social media link. Okay, so we got our main keyword here, which is plumbing price in Toronto. So we'll go ahead and start with this. Now, first thing is we want to insert in here some check boxes. And when we go ahead and check this off, we want to obviously create that blog post. So the thing is how do we communicate that information over to n8n over here? And so you might think the best option is to type in Google Sheets here. The issue is that these triggers are absolutely horrible inside Google Google Sheets. I'm not going to go spend a lot of time telling you why they're absolutely awful, but yeah, they just don't really work the way you'd want to. Essentially, these will only work if you like add a new row at the top here, but we're not adding rows, we're updating rows. So we're only like triggering this if we click create or click social media, and you can't really do that with these triggers. So what we want to do is back out of this, and we want to use something called a webhook. Okay. And so what we're doing here is we're sending data from Google Sheets into our webhook over here. And how we do that is by using this scary looking script here, which is actually super simple because you're not gonna have to really change anything. This is gonna be in the description down below for free for you guys to copy and paste. And as long as you can copy this, okay, then you're good to go. Inside Google Sheets here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna head over to extensions, and we're going to go into app script here. Now we're developing like a custom script from Google Sheets, and this custom script is going to essentially send information from Google Sheets over to this webhook here. Okay. And so in this app script, we can go ahead and delete everything and then just paste it in. And once we do that, we're almost done. You'll see that it says our or your API key here. We just need to replace this. And so inside our webhook, we're going to open this up, and we just want to switch the HTTP method to post here. And we're going to copy this. Now, when I say switch the HTTP method to post, there's a lot of different ways, like methods you can choose here. Just to put it really simply, most of the like a post is to create, put is update, delete is delete, and get is search. And so like if you think about a GET request, the simplest way to explain this is me going to my website here. I'm getting or I'm retrieving a website page, and then it's serving that website page in front of me. Okay, so that's a GET request. A POST request is creating something. So for instance, you could create a contact in your CRM, or you could create a blog post by checking off this particular checkbox. So we're sending data, kind of like a postman. We're sending it from one location to the next. Sweet. So we're going to create a blog post over here. So we're choosing post, and we're going to copy this link, and then we're going to go back into our app script, and we're going to delete this. We're going to make sure those quotations there are still in place, and then we're going to paste our link in here. Okay. We'll save this up top here. And this is the first part of this done, which is we need to use a script, and this will send it. The only other thing we need to do is to tell Google Sheets when we actually want to send this information. And so we need to choose a trigger over here. And this trigger is going to be sent every single time we update anything in the Google Sheet. And so my face is blocking this, but there is a massive unavoidable blue button that says add trigger at the bottom right here. You'll just want to click on that. And the only thing we want to change here is select event type to on edit. So what this means is that anytime we edit anything like this or like this or whatever, it's going to fire data over to this Google Sheet here. So no matter what we change for whatever reason, it's always going to fire data. And that's what this event type is doing here. So we'll go ahead and click save here. And if you're like me and you have pop-ups disabled, it's going to throw an error and say, hey, we can't do this. You just need to click save again. And then it's going to redirect you over. And it looks like we hit an error here. This is a bit unusual. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click save again, and it should work this time. Sweet. So we'll log into our account. It's going to say, hey, you're not a verified app developer, which I'm not. I haven't gone through the Google ecosystem and verified myself. I just created a quick script here. So you'll probably encounter this as well. I just want to hit advanced, go to untitled project, and allow. And so what this is doing is we're allowing Google Sheets to send data externally outside of Google Sheets into our n8n workflow. And so now that that's done, we can go ahead and close this app script here, and we can send data. So inside our webhook, what I'm going to do now that we have this set to post is we're going to test this out by listening to the test event, and we're going to check off this box right here, and we're going to receive that data inside n8n on the right-hand side. Sweet. So everything's working so far. We've received our output. Now, there's a couple things that I really like about this. First of all, when we receive data from this app script, and this is unlike those Google triggers that don't give us any data, by the way, this gives us a ton. This gives us the row start and the column start. So we know that it was column 3, which is C, and then row 2. And I think that, yeah, so column start and then row start. And then it also gives us all the information on that row too, which is fantastic. So we have everything. Like if you add any data onto this row, you're going to receive it. So that's really, really nice. So all of this data on this row is being sent together in one go. Sweet. So the next thing that I want to do here is I want to go ahead and pin this data. And I want to pin it because we're going to be testing a lot, and I don't want to have to come back here every single time and click create and then wait and all that kind of stuff. That'll just slow us down. So we've got our pin data. That means we can run as many times as we want here, and we're just recycling the same data over and over and over again. Great. Next thing we're going to do is hit this plus button here. And what I want to do this time is add a filter. Okay. And the reason why we're adding a filter here is because we don't want to create a blog post anytime we update anything on the sheet. So like if I type in this, I don't want to create a blog post. I want to only create a blog post if I check off a box here. And so there's two conditions that must be met here. So condition number one is that we want to make sure that if we're going to create a blog post, we're only having a change happen in column C. Like if we change over here, I don't want to create a blog post. If we change something over here, I don't want to create a blog post. I only want to create it if it's in column C. And the second thing is that when the change is made in column C, it has to be true. And so if we click on a checkbox here, we'll see that the value is by default false. And also, if we check it off, it's true. So with these checkboxes, there can only be two values, true or false, okay? And so we want to make sure that we only create it if it's checked off or true and if it's in column C. So we'll go ahead, and with this filter, what we're going to do here is we're going to do half of this filtering for now. And what we want to do is make sure that the value here is true. So only if this is true, checked, up here, or if this social media post is true, it's going to pass. Okay. And so this value is equal to true. Sweet. And I'm just going to go ahead, test this out, make sure that it worked, which it did. Awesome. And then the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to have something called a switch statement. And so what a switch statement does is it checks a condition and then it will route it down different paths. So we're going to check in this instance, hey, are we checking off create a blog post or create a social media post? And depending on which one we checked, we're either going to create the blog post or we're going to create that social media post. And so what we'll do this time is we'll enter in the second condition here, which is after it reaches here because the value was true. The next thing is that it needs to be in column C if we want to create the blog post, or column D if we want to create the social media post. And so now what we can do is we can make sure that the column start here is equal to 3 in this instance. Okay, so column 3 is C. And once we click this, so 1, 2, and 3, then it'll go ahead and create the blog post. And you'll notice that it's kind of like screaming at us in all red. And the reason why it's screaming at us in all red is because the data type isn't aligned. And so what we're saying is, hey, this is a text field is equal to, but really this value is a number. So technically this is a number, and we know it's a number because it has this hashtag here. This tells us the data type. This is a hashtag as a number. The AB down here is like text. And so there's other data types as well. We just need to make sure the two data types are aligned. So we'll go number, okay, is equal to 3. Okay, so now it's aligned. 3 down here is a number. This is a number. We're good to go. And then we're going to add one more route. We're going to copy the same thing, and we're going to make sure this time that the number is equal to 4. So in other words, we're only going to pass to create a social media post down here. So this is social media, this is blog post. We're going to create the blog post if we click this, and social media post if we click there. Sweet. So we can go ahead, test this, and we know that because in the sample data, we checked off the blog post here, it's going to go down this first condition here, or go down this path and create the blog post. Awesome. So next thing that I want to do here is I want to add in an AI agent. Okay, and so this AI agent is going to do the first part of this blog post generation. And so with this blog post generation, what we want to do is we want to create a rough draft of the blog post. Now, we need to configure this properly. And you'll notice here that we have this prompt here, and this is the wrong message. The reason why it's the wrong message here is it's screaming at us and it's red is just because by default, when you're creating AI agents, it's expecting a different trigger. And that trigger is this on chat message here. And so by default, it expects this. We need to switch this up so that by default, we're grabbing this keyword over here. Okay, so this is the input. So we're saying, hey, create a blog post on this keyword here, plumbing price in Toronto. And so what we're going to do is we're going to change this to define below. And then we're going to say, I don't know, like, please create a blog post on this topic, for instance. And we'll pass in through the webhook down here. We'll pass in this keyword down here. So I'm scrolling all the way to the bottom. This keyword is contained within the row values. If you remember in this Google Sheet, we get all of the row values when we, receive results in n8n. So we will, if we check the box here, it'll contain that keyword as well. So we're going to create a blog post based on this keyword. And there's a couple things that we need to do here. First of all, we need to give this AI agent a brain. And so this brain, you can choose any large language model you want down here. I'm just going to go ahead and choose ChatGPT just because I'm familiar with this. Now, if you guys haven't done so already, you will have to connect in your ChatGPT account here. And so I'll just run through this. You can see I've created like a disgusting amount of ChatGPT instances here. Like I think it's 8 right now. Way too many. And this is after me like deleting a lot. But we'll walk through this again. We'll create the new credential and we need an API key. An API key is just like a password. So when you go to log into Gmail or your inbox or whatever, you need to have a password to identify yourself. Similarly, an API key is a password. So we're going to go over to platform.openai.com and we are going to create an account if you haven't done so already, and then log in. Once we're inside, we'll hit this gear looking icon here and we'll head over to API keys on the side. Okay. And now with these API keys, we'll create one. I'm going to call this delete because I really don't want to have so many API keys. This is like overwhelming. You can just see like the amount here. We're going to copy this. Yeah, that's like a disgusting amount of API keys there. And we're going to go ahead and paste that right over here and we're good to go. We can click save and we're done. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and save that just because I already have an insane amount of connections in here. I should probably go ahead and delete some after this video. And that is essentially it. Now, moving forward here, we have chosen the model 4.1 mini. Now, I don't want to go too in depth into this just because depending on when you watch this will likely change, but I choose mini just because it's cheaper and faster than not choosing it. And 4.1 just because it's the newest model at the time of this recording. If you're watching this in a year from now, this might change. Sweet. So that is essentially it. And then we'll go ahead and choose tools here. And I'm going to type in Perplexity. Okay. And so we'll add in Perplexity here. Now, just keeping in mind, if you do not see Perplexity in your account, you may need to go ahead and update your existing n8n instance in the admin panel down here. Okay. Because this is newly released maybe a couple weeks or a couple months ago. So from within Perplexity, what we're going to do is we're going to do live research on the internet. And so the reason why we're using Perplexity and not ChatGPT is because, like, let's say you come into ChatGPT, you can search the internet through here, and that's totally doable. But the problem is that searching the internet or ChatGPT here is a different product than the API instance over here. And so you cannot search ChatGPT, the internet through ChatGPT here, but you can through Perplexity's API, and that's why we're using this. And just as a side note here, if you guys are signing up for the first time through ChatGPT, you will need to go into billing and add $5 because this is a different product than ChatGPT. This is free to get started with, but ChatGPT, you need to have a balance. The minimum is $5 adding every single time. Same with Perplexity. We're also going to have to add a balance and sign up here, and the minimum is $5 here as well. Now, keep in mind with Perplexity, in order for us to search the internet, we need to change the model type here to the Sonar series. So I'm going to choose Sonar Pro over here, and this will allow us through their API to automatically search the internet. Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and create a credential here, and we just need, again, an API key. And so with that being said, we'll head over to the Perplexity website. We'll go over to the account settings down here, and we will go into account and then down to API keys at the bottom here, and we can go ahead and create our new key. Okay. And then once we create that, then we can just copy it in from here. And again, make sure to have $5 here. Otherwise you might not be able to use it. And then you'll paste it in here. We're good to go. Sweet. So we'll close out of this. And the last thing that I want to do here is I want to tell it what to actually get done. And we need to search the internet. Specifically, we're searching the internet for this particular keyword here. We need to search the internet to see what the plumbing prices actually are in Toronto, so that when we write an AI generated blog post, it's actually giving us relevant search results back. So what we're going to do is we're going to let AI define this parameter. So it's going to just essentially choose what to search. And I'm going to say, add a description here, please search the keyword. Okay. And so it will pull out this particular keyword here because we're passing, again, this whole row through n8n, and we have access to it in this webhook. Okay. So we can test this out. Just the last thing here is in this AI agent, I want to make sure I have a system prompt down here. Okay. And so in order to get a system prompt in here, I'm actually just going to speed up time and copy this in from the other build that I've already done, just so that we can speed through this pretty quickly here. And this will be in the description down below. I'm not going to cover this whole thing because this might take me like 3 minutes to say, but in a nutshell, what we're doing is we're generating a blog post here that's SEO optimized. And we're just saying you're a professional blog writer. Your purpose is to write an engaging, well-structured blog post. And, you know, here's the guidelines, here's the primary objectives, here's the output, here's the workflow summary, all of that kind of stuff. We're just getting it to create a blog post here for us, okay? And if you ever need help doing this kind of stuff, you can go over to your best friend ChatGPT here and say, please go ahead and generate me a prompt to create high quality blog posts. We can test this out and we'll see the results that we get back. So the AI agent's going to go to work. It's going to first call this brain here to figure out what we need to do. Then it's going to send over to Perplexity to do some real-time research. Then the AI agent will call the brain to formulate a response, and then it'll send it back to us so we can take a look at the blog post that has gone ahead and generated. We can see the output over here. And so let's read this together. It's saying what to expect in 2024. This is my blog reading voice, if you will. If you're a homeowner or property manager in Toronto, understanding plumbing costs is essential when planning repairs, renovations, and emergency services. Now, at this point in time right here, I would have bounced off the page because I would have been like, this is so freaking boring. First of all, it's a boring topic. Nobody likes reading about plumbing. And second of all, it's a generated blog post on a boring topic, which is a double negative. And so I would have been already gone. So that's the only problem with this, is like, it's not really exciting. And the problem is like, most service-based businesses, it's not exciting topics to write about, like an electrician or a plumber or anything like accounting. All of these things are incredibly boring, and chances are if somebody's reading a blog on plumbing services, they're not in a happy state of mind either, because chances are they just had a massive freaking leak and they're trying to figure out, can they afford to pay the plumbing services so that they get the best deal possible. So they're already pissed and they're in a hurry. And then, you know, we just want to make sure that we provide the highest quality blog posts to them. And so what we need to do at this point in time is we need to change the tone of voice. And so we want to make this more engaging. How I like to do that is through humor. And so if we take a step back here and we think about the purpose of Google, if I type in plumbing prices in Toronto, the purpose of Google is to serve the highest quality content possible to you, because if it does that, you'll keep using Google as a platform. And Google's whole purpose here is to serve the highest quality content so they can service the most ads possible. And so the more ads they serve, the better off, or the more money they're going to make. And so how you can provide the best experience possible for their customers is through key metrics like click-through rate, how long they're staying on your blog post, are they scrolling down the page, are they engaging with it, are they clicking through to other things, are they filling out forms to your site. All of these kind of metrics Google has or can pay attention to, and they want to essentially reward people that do a good job providing high quality content to their customer base so they can service more ads. And so we need to make our content more engaging to the viewers, and how we do that is through the tone of voice. Typically, I like to have this tone of voice be funny. So we're going to go ahead and type in OpenAI over here, and this time we're going to message a model. And so how we're going to do this is, again, we're going to choose the 4.1 series here, and it's going to be mini, and we have two messages. First message is going to be a system message, and the second message is going to be a user message, and we will be going through both of these together. I'm just going to copy these over so we can speed up a bit of time here. Cool. So we have two messages. You can think about the system message as, in a nutshell, the instructions you're providing it with. So in this instance, you're saying, hey, I want you to change the tone of voice of this blog post. You're telling it what it needs to do. You're telling it the task that needs to be accomplished. And then the user message over here is the input. And so you're essentially passing along the blog post that actually needs to be changed. So again, system messages and instructions, you're telling it what needs to be done. You're changing the tone of voice of the blog post. And then the user message is actually providing that blog post that needs to be changed. Okay. And so we're going to pass both of these through, and we can go ahead and execute this step here. Cool. And as this is wrapping up, actually, it looks like it just finished here. Okay, let's just go ahead and take a look here at the results on the right-hand side. So plumbing prices in Toronto, what to expect in 2024. Ever had a leaky faucet that sounds like a hamster on a wheel at 3 a.m.? Yeah, me too. Plumbing drama isn't exactly a party starter, but unless you're secretly a DIY hero with a magic wrench, which, let's be honest, most of us are not, you'll want a plumber. Okay, so it's instantly something that would be more enjoyable to read. So let me just go through these two prompts here. Essentially, with the system instructions, we're telling it to be funny. You're a witty, self-aware writer who combines dad jokes. And I apologize if you don't like dad jokes, but I'm like the world's largest dad joke enthusiast out there. So I hope we can still be friends if you're not the same as me. And then there's pulp culture references and playful sarcasm with surprisingly clear and insightful content. Think cheeky uncle meets thoughtful mentor. You're the fun teacher who makes even boring topics. Yes, even accounting. Sorry for all the accountants out there. Feel like a stand-up set with homework. Okay, cool. So those are the instructions. And then of course, we're passing the blog post over here. Sweet. So that looks good to me. We'll go ahead and save this. And I'm going to pin the data here and I'm going to pin the data here just so that we don't have to constantly be running these in the background every single time. We'll move on to the next step here in the sequence, which is essentially optimizing this blog post for SEO. So I'm going to duplicate this by hitting Command D, clicking this and hitting Command D, which will duplicate it. We'll open it up and I'm going to paste in the same prompts again. So we're using ChatGPT quite a few times here because we need to now generate this SEO portion of it. And basically what's going on here is we're just saying we want you to retain the same writing style, so don't change the tone of voice, but you need to make this SEO friendly. So you need to include SEO keywords without stuffing it, make sure there's proper grammar, smooth transitions, all this kind of stuff. This is like a starter kit, guys. This is not like a final, checklist. If you want to improve this, there's a lot of things you can do here. The purpose of this video is not to be 100% perfect. It's to show you exactly how you can go about implementing these solutions and then tailoring it to your business case scenario. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of additional things we can do for SEO here, but let's go ahead and test this out. So we're going to optimize this for SEO. We're passing in the previous version of the blog post, and then this will change the text so that it's more SEO friendly. Okay, cool. So we're all done here. I'm going to pin this and then we're going to move on to the next thing, which is in a nutshell, creating these. Oh my gosh, I feel like I've said in a nutshell like at least 5 times in this video. I'm going to go for at least 20 times. The next thing that we need to do here is we need to generate pictures. Okay. And so if we look at our blog post here, you'll notice that there's all these pictures and they're all above the top sections here. So section 1, section 2, section 3, and so on and so forth. And so what I want to do is I want to be able to create pictures inside this blog post and put them above all the sections. So we're going to go ahead and create another OpenAI module here. And again, it's going to be messaging a model, and I'm just going to paste in what I have here just to speed this up. So we're going to choose the same model, which is 4.1 mini. And perfect, we'll paste this in and we'll grab the other one as well. So we've got 2 messages here. We have a user message and a system message just like before. This doesn't look like it's working, so we're just going to pass this content in over here. Okay, sweet. So let's take a look and see what's going on here. We have a simple prompt. Your goal is to analyze the blog post and identify all major sections so that we can create ChatGPT prompts to generate images for each section. Please limit it to 4 pictures / 4 sections here. Okay. So what's going on is we are going to effectively find all 4 instances of the sections here. And then we're going to intelligently create blog posts or pictures for every single section. So a picture for every single section here so that it makes it dynamic and makes it more engaging. Okay. And so there's just one extra thing in here that we need to add in, and that is going to be this third message down here, which is an assistant message. So we've already gone through the system message, which is the instructions, user message, which is the input. The assistant message is the output. It's how we want to define what the data looks like when ChatGPT spits out an answer. Okay. And so I'm going to paste this in. I'm going to go over this. We're essentially saying, please output the following data in JSON format with the following structure. JSON data, by the way, is just everything here that you see. This is JSON data. So we're just using the same format that n8n is already used to on the back end of n8n or over here. All of this data is JSON data. Okay, so I'm giving it a structure here where I'm just saying like curly brace blog post images is equal to this array. Okay, what is going on here essentially is we have a list and we have a list of 4 sections. So instead of me just kind of rambling on, let me just show you what this actually looks like. We're going to execute this step. And I'm changing the output to JSON data so that instead of it just providing like one block of text back like we've seen in all these other modules, it's just text that we're receiving back. We're structuring the data in a different way thanks to this assistant message down here and this output content as JSON message, where instead we're giving it a list or an array. So you can see this is a list of 4 text items, and we're essentially creating prompts for 4 different pictures here. And so this would be a classic prompt for this picture, or we might create a classic prompt for this picture or another prompt for this picture so that we can use that prompt that then paste that into actually generating an image here. So in the next modules, we're going to go through those 4 images one by one and then generate pictures for each one of them. Okay. And so the next thing here is we're going to use a split out function. And what this is going to do is go through these one by one. Now, I just want to actually just switch over to my Blackboard here just to show you guys what this looks like. So we have a list, something, or an array. An array equals something like a list. You can think about you going to the grocery store here and then you buy like, you know, food. And that food, you could have a grocery store list. And on that list, you have like bananas, and that's supposed to be bananas. You have mangoes as well, and that's supposed to be mangoes, and you have like strawberries, okay? And so with a list, classic behavior is that you can go through items one by one. So you start with the first one, you complete that. You start with the second one, you complete that. You start with the third one, and you complete that. And so that's essentially a unique characteristic of like lists inside n8n. And so when we're using this split out function here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through these prompts one by one. We're gonna start with the first image, then the second image, then the third, then the fourth, and then we're gonna create images for every single one, just like in this blog post. So we're going to create the first image, then we're going to create the second image, then we're going to create the third image, and so on and so forth. So this is what the split out does. It goes to them individually one by one. Okay. And inside the schema here, we want to add in the blog post images because this is the list containing 4 items, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we pass in the list containing all 4. Now we can go ahead and execute this step. I'm just going to pin this data so that we don't have to rerun it every single time. And now we'll execute this step. And we've gone through, and we're going through it one at a time. Okay, and next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to open up OpenAI, and we're going to choose create. We're actually going to type in image here, generate an image. We're going to start with DALL-E 3 just because this is easier to use. Or sorry, it's just, it's cheaper and there's no limits on how many images you can generate at the beginning. And we're going to use this for test purposes. The quality is significantly poor. And then what we're going to do is switch this over to GPT-1. Afterwards when we're happy with the results. These are generated using GPT-1. It's the newer image model. And one thing that I want to say about this image model before I forget is that you need to have over in your general settings, you need to verify your account. So you actually need to verify your identity with ChatGPT in order for you to be able to create these images in the new image generation model, GPT Image 1. Okay, so make sure to go ahead and do that if you want to use this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab these prompts and we're going to pass it in right here, and then we can execute it one by one. And this will go ahead and generate an image. Again, because we're using DALL-E 3, images are going to be pretty bad, I'm not going to lie, but we'll flip this once we're ready to push this live. Okay, sweet. So this is just going to take a couple seconds here on the right-hand side before this finishes. Cool. So we've gone ahead, we've created the images. We can take a look at these. So this is the first one. which for Dolly 3 actually doesn't look all too bad. And then we have the second one over here, which again for Dolly 3 is not as bad as I was expecting it to be. And we have a third image over here. Cool. And then finally the fourth image over here. Sweet. And so this is more or less what we're doing. And yeah, the next thing that we want to do is we want to upload this into WordPress, okay, so that we can use these images on our particular blog post. And so this is kind of where WordPress comes in. And you don't have to use WordPress. You can use, you have a lot of other options. Like let's say you have Shopify over here. You could figure out a way to do Shopify as well. Like maybe you want to create a page on here. It doesn't look like you would be able to do this straight through n8n, but you could, you know, just plug it into make.com over here and use Shopify to create blog posts. Another way is just to insert this into like a Google Drive folder. So you have the images, and then you also have the blog posts in a Google Doc. And then instead of like uploading straight into WordPress, you could just have a Google Doc, and then a team member goes through, grabs that, uploads it to your website. And so that's an option too, just putting that out there. We're going to talk about how we can do this straight through WordPress because I think this is really cool. Cool. Now the next step here is to take these images and then upload it to WordPress. And so I wish that they had like a, oops, I didn't mean to create that. I wish they had the option to just upload images straight from within n8n easily. They don't have this functionality, so we have to build this out. Now I'm just going to copy what has worked for me in the past, and we'll kind of walk through this together right here step by step. But essentially we need to create our own custom HTTP module to send a request over to WordPress to create these images. And so we'll walk through this step by step. We're going to create an HTTP module, okay? And we're going to make sure that this is post here, okay? Post means we're sending or creating something. So we're creating images. Then what we need to do is we need to add in our website here. So it's going to be yourdomain.com. So let's say your company was abc.co. It's just going to be abc.co here /WordPress /wp-json /wp/version2/media. Again, this will be in the blueprints down below. If you guys don't want to copy and paste this in, you can just literally download the blueprints for free. Next thing is that we need to set headers here, okay? And so we need to do a couple things. First of all, we need to authenticate ourselves, and we're going to come back to this in a second here. The next thing is we need to add in a header type here saying that we're passing in images, okay? So content disposition in a nutshell, I believe, is just saying we're uploading images, and specifically they're going to be attachments, and it's going to be a file type of image.jpg. It's a JPEG extension here. Cool. And then lastly, we're going to send a body, and that body is going to be a file upload. So it's going to be a n8n binary file, and we need to pass in data over here. Okay. And so this data, let's just plug this in, connect it, make sure we're good to go, is this orange text here. So we're passing in all of these images, and it's going to upload them one by one into our WordPress environment. The only other thing that we need to do here is we need to authorize our account. And so how we authorize our account is if we go into WordPress, we need to be able to get a password. Now, just before we do this, guys, just keep in mind, if you don't use WordPress, there's a lot of other web builders out there. I haven't played around with them, so I don't know how easy or difficult it is to be able to do this through like another WordPress or like another website builder. Another alternative, if you want to, is you could just go into Google Docs here, and you could just spit out this entire thing in Google Docs. You could add your images into Google Drive, for instance, and then you have the images in the Google Doc, and you just pass it off to somebody on your team, or you take that and you upload it into your website. Okay, and that's another option, which would be pretty fast as well. But we're going to continue on with this WordPress example here. And specifically, we need to get this authorization here. How we do that is we go to users, okay? And we need two things. First, we need the username, which is this. I'm going to open up ChatGPT, and I'm going to paste this in. Username is this. And then next, we need to actually enter into our user here, and we need to create a new application password, which I'm going to call delete, and we need to copy this in. We're going to go back to ChatGPT, and we're going to say password, and I'm going to type in here, this is a WordPress username and password. Can you change this into a base 64 string for user authentication in n8n because I want to upload images? It will go ahead and change this for us, and we can see this right here. So we'll copy that and then paste it in here. So we're just changing that username and everything to base 64. It knows the exact structure because I'm telling it that we need to use this for WordPress authentication. And so it knows how to do that. We can go ahead and execute this step up top here. And now it looks like we actually ran into an error. Let's just see if I missed anything on my end here. So yeah, we just need this basic in front of it. So we can't just pass in the base 64 string. We actually have to have basic and then space here. And then we'll try it again. And this time, hopefully, fingers crossed, it works, which it did. Great. So I'm going to pin this data now. And I'm also going to turn this off just so that we don't have to keep running this, because this can take like a couple minutes every time. We've uploaded our images. And so the next step that we want to do here is, once we upload these images, is we want to aggregate them. Okay. And so what we're doing here is, like, you can see it says 4 items. That's because we created 4 images. We went through them one by one, and now we're uploading 4 images at a time. If I just added WordPress here and created like a blog post, for example, it would create 4 blog posts here. But we don't want to create 4 blog posts. We just want to create 4 images for one blog post. And so we need to consolidate these 4 images into one blog post. And how we do that is we use something called an array aggregator. Okay. And so what this does is, very similarly to our list here, if we go back to this, we went to the grocery store and we had a list of bananas, mangoes, and apples. Now what we're doing is we're taking like the 3 things and we're creating a list again, and we're putting list. And this is like over here, image 1, image 2, image 3, image 4, and we're just adding them back into a list again so that we can have our blog post on WordPress essentially with image 1, image 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, and so that's all we're doing here in a nutshell. So we'll go ahead and add in this array aggregator here. There's just one field we want to change, which is this aggregate field here. So this is saying, hey, do we want to add in individual fields? Like, do we want to pick and choose from here what we want to aggregate? We need to change this to all data. Okay, so everything from all the past nodes is going to be merging into one. So essentially, we don't want to pick and choose a couple items to pass through. We want to pass in all of the data that we've accumulated so far through this entire workflow. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to copy this ChatGPT node in here just because it's configured properly. And I'm going to unpin the data, and let's pass in some prompts here, okay, from our original build. But in a nutshell, what we're doing here at this stage is we want to style this blog post. So if we take a look at the blog post here, we can see that we have headings and it's colored properly, and we got nice images, and we have whatever these are called, I'm not too sure, but there's bold text and there's italicized text and all this kind of stuff. And so that is the responsibility of this chat node down here. So let's open this up. We got a system prompt and a user prompt for this. And I'm going to delete the assistant over here. And I'm just going to copy this in from our previous workflow so that we can just hit the ground running on this. Cool. So there we go. Looks good. Let's walk through this together. We're telling it that it's a blog designer that's an expert in making blogs beautiful. So we're transforming it into an HTML blog post that is compatible with Elementor on WordPress. If you're using something other than Elementor, of course, you're going to want to switch this up. This is just the kind of setup that I have going on here, but you can change this to whatever it is that you want. And then we have rules. So first of all, it's HTML. The reason why it's HTML is so that we can insert in things like these pictures within the blog post, or we can have everything styled properly however we want. And so this is a good starting point, but of course you can make this as detailed as you want. You can add so many different options to style your blog post the way you want it to. You can literally give it entire outlines and structures and branding guidelines on how you want your blog post to look like. And I'm sure it'll get it very well most of the time, if not all the time. Cool. So that's essentially it. And yeah, so we're just outputting it like that. And then we're passing in a couple things here. We're passing in the title of the blog post itself, and then the image captions, as well as the images. So let's go ahead and do this. You can see that we have the 4 images here that have been generated in the past. Okay, so if we just were to open this up, this would take us to the images that we generated prior to at this stage right here. Okay, and so that's that step right there. And then the next thing that we're doing here is we want to make sure that we actually pass in all of this information here too. So what we want to do is we want to go back to where this title was generated. And it actually looks like we never generated this title in the first place. So we're going to actually have to take a slight detour and fix this in a second here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to fix both of these. In the meantime, we can just fix this quickly as well. So image captions for each image. So we'll talk about this first, and then we'll go back to the title and the blog post. So we're passing in the images for this blog post, so it knows, hey, here's the images that we want to insert in. And then we're also going to pass in the prompts that we created for these images as well, just because we want to make sure that not only does it have the images, but it has a description of the images as well. So I'm going to pass in this list of all 4 so we can see all 4 of the images. So image captions, each image separated by commas, and then we have the image down here. Again, you could probably make this a lot better, like in how to separate these and all that kind of stuff. And right now, the only issue with this is potentially there might be an issue where it is confused as to which photo is belonging to which caption. But yeah, just as like a starting guide on making these blog posts at a baseline level, this will get you along a lot of the way there. And of course, you can tweak and optimize this however you want. Okay, cool. So we're going to pass this in. And anytime it says item here, I'm just going to change this to first, by the way. I'm going to do this for this up top here and this up top here. To be honest, I don't have a good explanation as to why that's the case. I just know that anytime we're dealing with things like split out functions and arrays, usually it will mess up the data slightly. And like anytime you try and drag things in, it'll give you like errors here. And if you switch to first, then it'll work outside the box. So let's go ahead and let's generate that title and everything like that, which is going to be in this ChatGPT node here. And so if you remember, we created the draft, we created the tone of voice, then we created the SEO optimized blog post, and then we went into images for the rest of this, okay? And so we're gonna come back here, and we just need to add in something called a user, well, that assistant message down here, so we can define the output. And I'm just gonna copy this in from our previous node, and of course, all of this kind of stuff will be in the blueprints for free down below. But in a nutshell, what we're doing here is we're going to change this to assistant, and we're just defining the output. So we're saying, hey, please output the data in JSON format with title, blog post, and then the slug. And the slug is the URL up top here. So we can change the URL so that it's SEO optimized. And when we look at this data here, we can see these 2 backslashes. This is just giving notes to ChatGPT to have it understand exactly what we're looking for here. So for the title, we want it to be 3 to 8 words. For the blog post, this is the blog post. The slug is the end of the URL. Okay, cool. So we can go ahead and do that. And one more thing here that we want to do is just make sure that this is outputted as JSON data. And we can go ahead and test this out. Okay, cool. So I'm going to pin these particular areas here just so that we don't have to redevelop these images again, which takes quite some time. And we're using DALL-E 3 anyways, just to experiment with these, and we'll be switching it back to the better image generator afterwards so that the blog post will be actually stunning. And so we'll go ahead, we'll generate this, we'll plug that title and all the information right into this particular node here. But in a nutshell, we can see that the content here now has title, blog post, and slug. Okay, so it's outputting all 3 things that we specified here in this particular JSON, or in this particular assistant here, okay? And so that's the beautiful thing about the assistant here. So everything looks good. I'm gonna pin this over here and move on to the next step, which is this message model. And the last thing here is just adding in these particular fields. So we'll go ahead, we'll delete the title, and we'll drag it in from this message model, so the title that we just created. And you'll see it's red right away. We just need to change this to first. And then we'll delete the blog post and we'll enter in the blog post here, and same kind of deal. We're just going to change first. Okay, cool. So we can go ahead and test this out. And with those two variables swapped, it should be able to generate a response for us on the right-hand side here. Okay, great. We're just going to test this. And the one thing I want to change here is just I want to uncheck this output content as JSON. So we're going to just uncheck this and we can go ahead and test this step out, and we should get the results on the right-hand side here in a couple seconds. Cool. So it looks like we received the response back, and this is all HTML. Now, the last two steps that we want to do here are, first of all, we want to add this blog post into WordPress, and then we also want to just be able to put all the links back inside our Google Sheet here. Okay. And so let's go ahead and let's do that. First of all, I'm going to pin the response up top here so that we don't have to recreate this until we want to test this in the final stages here. And we're going to add in WordPress up top. Okay. And we want to specifically create a post. And so we need to start with credentials up top here. And this is very similar to how we got the credentials when we added to our WordPress site over here. So we're going to open this up. We're going to create a new credential, and it's going to ask for our username, and it's going to ask for our password. Okay. So back inside WordPress, we'll go to users, and we'll scroll down to yourself and just copy your own username here, paste that in. And then we're going to go in, edit it, scroll down, and create a new password. So I'm just going to add mine. Now we have our password. We can copy this, paste it back in the password section. And then we just want to grab the URL, the root URL up top here. So whatever it is, like abccompany.com, and then paste that in, save it. I'm going to call this delete over here. And we are good to go. We've successfully connected in. And so now what we can do is we can test this. We'll fill in the blanks here and then test this out. So title is going to be from all the way down here where we generate the title, blog post, and slug. So we'll have the title up top here. And we can add in quite a few options. And keep in mind when it screams at us saying we didn't enter in the data properly, we just got to change it so it has first always up top here. Okay, so a couple things I want to add in. I want to add in this slug. I want to add in the content of the website. I want to add in, maybe we can do like a template down here, and I can do status, and we could do, what else? Maybe author name or ID and format. And let's see. Yeah, that looks good to me so far. So we can just go ahead and choose. So I'm going to choose myself as the author here. The content is going to be what we just generated through this blog. So all this HTML is actually going to be the content. The slug is going to be the final URL. So it's going to be mywebsite.com/Toronto Plumbing Prices 2024. We're going to set this to draft down here so that we don't publish it right away. We can do a quick once over and make sure we're happy with it. Format, we can choose standard down here. This is just like mostly like a text post pretty much. And then template, you could have like certain templates. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what all this does. I'm just going to change it to Elementor footer, header footer, and we can give it a shot. Let's see if this works properly. Cool. So it did. We'll head over to our WordPress website here, head over to posts, and we'll take a look at this first post here. And cool. We can edit with Elementor and leave. And the first thing I want to point out is these images are not going to be good. Okay, these are DALL-E 3 images, and they're absolutely horrific. They're not nice visually to look at. So we're going to swap it out just for something a lot more beautiful afterwards. This is just for testing purposes. Okay, sweet. So it has titled it's designed things for us, given us a nice color code palette here. Obviously, this is like the most horrific image you've ever seen in your life. And I thought, just when I said it was the most horrific, I think this one's actually worse. But, you know, apart from the images looking absolutely atrocious, everything else looks pretty good. Like this table, pretty cool. Okay, this one is definitely the worst. Like, look at these faces here. This is like, not sure if those are actually humans. That's wild. Wow. Okay. Crazy. So yeah, this is our blog post. Everything's looking really, really good so far, except for the atrocious images, which I'm just going to move away from this so that we don't have to look at them anymore. Whew. Okay, cool. So I'm going to pin this as well, and we'll move on to the last stage, which is entering this into Google Sheets again. So I'm going to type in Sheets, and we're going to update a sheet. Okay. So update a row in a sheet, and we just need to choose the right one here. So this is called, I'm just going to call this like WordPress blog post example. Sweet. And we'll copy this and search for this. And it looks like I just need to connect in the right account. And if you guys haven't done so already, you'll just need to add an account, and you can just sign in with Google up top here, and it'll walk you through the whole process. Cool. So we've got our Google Sheet, and then it's going to ask us for which tab we want, which is sheet 1 down here. So we'll choose that, and then we can just map in all the fields that we want to add. So for instance, the blog link here could be like this over here potentially. Maybe actually we'll do the link over here for the blog link. And then the image link, what I want to do is I just want to grab the first image generated here. So if we go back to the generated images, what we're going to do is we're actually going to just grab that first generated image here, and then we're going to put that in here. We're going to have to regenerate this just so that we can add it in here, because right now we don't have any previous examples. But essentially, yeah, that's what we're going to add in at that stage. Or what we could do potentially as well is we could actually go to this aggregator, and perhaps this might have that particular image in here. So let's just see. Yeah, so maybe what we'll do is we'll do this image here. So if I just open this up in a new tab, yeah, this is like one of the first images. So we can literally just copy this, and this will be the image link. We're just going to use this to publish on places like X or whatever over here. So whatever the first image is. And then created will be set to true so that this will be checked off. And yeah, that's essentially it for now. Okay, cool. So that's looking good to me. Now I want to test this whole thing out. Specifically what we need to do. Oh, and I used Dolly 2 here by mistake. I changed this up, which is why the images were so bad. We're going to switch this to GPT image 1. And just keep in mind that if you guys haven't done so already, you will need to verify your account up top here. So if we go to platform.openai.com and go to the settings up top here, you will need to go through this verification process in order for these images to be working through GPT image model 1 here. Okay. And yeah, that looks good to me. Lastly, what we're going to do here is I'm going to keep most of this pinned except for the ending here, just so that we can change the images out. So you can actually see what it looks like with nice looking images in here instead of atrocious images. So we'll go ahead, unpin everything, and then we'll give this a shot. I'm going to run the test. I'm going to and then I'm going to return back, just because this will take quite a bit of time for this to finish running. Okay, cool. So it looks like our scenario ran. We did encounter an error here, but first of all, I want to take a look and see what these images look like first of all, because we may need to tweak them. So inside our WordPress site, we'll go ahead and log in and take a look and see for ourselves what these look like. So cool. Okay, so a couple things. I don't necessarily like how these are like almost cartoonish, and I also don't like how they're being cut off here either. So we're gonna go ahead and change both of these. I would rather have like hyper realistic images, and which leads me to the conclusion that I actually forgot something when generating these image prompts, and that was to not only pass through the type of image we wanted to generate, but also having like a style or a general theme for our blog post images, so that they're consistent over time across all the images. Because if you look here, all of these images are more or less pretty consistent. So what I want to do is create that consistency. So from within this generating an image model, what we're going to do here is copy this whole prompt here, and then we'll fire it off one more time. So what this is essentially doing is it's giving a generic theme to it. So we want the images to be high quality, realistic images for a modern plumbing blog with a humorous, relatable tone. Always generate images in this consistent style. And so we're just giving like the exact style that we want here. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is we need to update this. The reason why this didn't work is because there was no column to match on. So anytime you're updating a row inside Google Sheets, you actually need to tell it which row to update, and we need a unique identifier so that it can match that row to update. The unique identifier is the keyword here, because the keyword's always going to be unique. We're not going to write 2 blog posts with the same keyword, hopefully. So what we'll do is we'll choose the keyword as the field to update. And then we can literally pull that keyword from the original webhook here. So we can just put in the plumbing price in Toronto. Over here, I'm just going to change this to first. And I'm also going to delete all these other fields that we're not actually updating. So this should work outside the box as well. And just last kind of thing here is with this model over here, I think because we changed the format of the output from this SEO kind of optimizer ChatGPT node here, we updated the assistant model so that has like things like, for instance, the title and the blog post and the slug. We just need to update here, right here where it's grabbing in this message, because if we look at this, what's going on here is it's grabbing everything, and we don't want it to grab everything as the blog post. We just want this blog post. Right now it's generating a blog post based on the blog post title and slug down here, which is fine. I just want to clean this up just a bit here. So we'll save that. And now we can go ahead and run this one more time. And I'm just going to run it, and then I'll come back when this is finished, because it'll take some time again. Cool, so we've officially completed the second run here. Everything's been added in. What I want to do is go ahead and take a look at the blog post that was just recently generated here. So I'm going to back out of my WordPress account and then open it up one more time here. So we'll go into the newest version, add it with Elementor, and then we're going to take a look this time, the styling of the images. Okay, cool. So here we can see first image here looks beautiful. Second image here looks beautiful as well. Third image, pretty good. And yeah, so this is great. So here's the kind of styling of the blog post that you could create using something like this. We even have the tables in here. I'm pretty happy with the output. Okay, so aesthetically, I think it did a good job, and this is just based on a really, really simple prompt that you could go ahead and, of course, tweak and modify however you see fit. Okay, so that is the first thing. The only thing worth pointing out here is that if you are going to change this, all of this unfortunately is in HTML. So like you can come in here, change it. There's images kind of in here. So you could like change the image or whatever if you wanted to. But essentially that's it. So it's a bit limited in terms of like how you can customize it within Elementor. You could also just use this as a draft and then come in here and then obviously copy it by adding in like headers over here or images or text or whatever, and use this as a good first draft, and then copy it in like 2 minutes over. But yeah, that's essentially what we've gone ahead and done with the blog post side of things. And so we've also added this into our Google spreadsheet here. We have the image link here, we have the blog link, and we have everything else we need. Okay. Now what we want to do is quickly publish this to social media. And so that's the next stage in this workflow. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, first of all, just pin a lot of this data here, just so that in case we need to run this again, we can always just run it way quicker. I like getting in the habit of this kind of stuff just because obviously with some of these API calls, they can take quite a bit of time. Okay, cool. Next stage here is we need to have a path where all of a sudden, if we want to check off this box to generate a social media post, it will go ahead and generate that social media post for us. Okay. And so what we're going to do this time is we're going to unpin the trigger here, and we're going to wait for new events to happen. And this time we're going to check off this box here, which is the social media side of things. And we'll receive that data on the right-hand side here, and we can actually pin that data as well. And now this time, what's going to happen is when we execute it, it's going to go down the next path over here, which is to generate those social media posts, okay? And so there's two ways that we can go about doing this. When we're publishing on social media. The problem with n8n is that they don't have a lot of built-in like social media platforms like Pinterest, Instagram. They're just not even existent. So there's two ways to do this. Option number one is to use a platform like Blotato, and this is going to cost you money. Okay, so pricing up top here is probably going to be like $29 a month to do this. And I'll show you how to do this in this video. Option number 2 is just to send data to make.com and have a second scenario here, which receives that data. So you just receive like the keyword and the blog post and everything. And then from there, it will automatically go ahead and publish on all your platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Tumblr, X, Pinterest. X might be sunset on make.com. That might be the only one you can't do, but all the other ones you can. So I will leave the blueprint for this for free down below in case you guys want to do this for free using make.com. But just because for this video, I want to keep everything in n8n, I'll kind of walk you through how we'd go about setting this up in something like Blotato. Okay. So you can sign up for a free trial, but this is kind of a misnomer because if you want to connect into their API, you're going to have to pay $29 a month to use this automatically. So the first thing is inside Blotato, we'll go to the settings here, and then we're going to make sure to first of all connect into our accounts. I'm just going to use Twitter down here, and I have my Twitter account connected in. Okay, and then the next thing here is that we want to go over to the API and generate an API code. Okay, so we're going to copy this. This comes down to 2 steps. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to upload a file into Blotato, and then we're going to post that file. I just have Twitter set up here, but you could have like many of these. So this could be like Twitter. This could be like, for instance, Instagram, and so on and so forth. So first things first, we're going to add an HTTP node here. Okay. And this will be to connect into Blotato. Now, first things first, I'm going to go to Blotato, upload image API documentation. I'm going to type this in and we can walk through this together. It's really right here in this URL here. Or if you wanted to, what we could actually do is we could just go to the quick start. So wherever it says quick start here. So in there like APIs/start, we can just go through this documentation here. First thing is we need an API key in this. So we're going to come back to this and we can post to the platform immediately, schedule a post, all that kind of stuff. But what we want to do is we want to first of all attach a media to the post. So we want to upload an image, which would be, for instance, our home or our image right here, which we attached to this Google Sheet. So if we open up this link right here, we should get access to that image. We're saving it in this Google Drive. We're going to upload that to Blotato. Okay. And so let's just go ahead and go through this API documentation step by step together. So the first thing is that we need to have this set to a post request. Okay. And we're just going to follow exactly what they say here. So post, and it's going to be to this URL. Just ignore this HTTP/1.1. That's pretty much irrelevant, and it's just going to mess you up. Next thing here is that we need to have content type JSON application. This is in the headers. So we'll come in here, paste that in here, and then the content type will be in the value here. Make sure there's no colon here. Everything I'm telling you, I don't want to give like too deep of a description, just because at the end of the day, this kind of stuff is just boilerplate. Like anytime you do HTTP modules, you always have to include this in there pretty much every single time. And all the other things up here, you're also doing the same thing. It's just that like the n8n team has like abstracted this for you, and they're doing all these HTTPS requests in the background for you. Okay, cool. So I've gone ahead and done that, and then we need to send a body down here, and this is going to be using JSON, and we can paste in exactly what they put here. Okay. The only difference is we just need to change our image out here. So instead of it being to example.com, I'm going to delete this, and we want to grab this image that we stored up top here. So if you recall, we generated the blog post, generated all these images, and then what we did was we stored one of those images inside our Google Sheet. And then when we went to publish the particular blog post to social media, we have access to that image right over here. Okay, so we're grabbing this, and we should have access to that in the webhook URL down at the bottom here, which is column number 4 here. This is the image. Okay, so we're going to paste that image right in here, and now we can literally just upload that. Okay, and so again, this image is this, which is right here that we added in when we created the blog post. Okay, sweet. The last thing that we need to do here is just authenticate using Blotato. So we're going to scroll up to the top here, and it's going to say, hey, you need to authenticate. So we need to put this in the header section. Okay, and we're going to copy this, and we're going to add a parameter in the header. We're going to have Blotato-API-key, And then we need to grab our API key, which is going to be in our account here. So we can copy the API key when we go to settings at the bottom here, and then API, and copy this, and we can paste it in here. Sweet. We'll go ahead and execute this. And it looks like we are missing something here. Oh, gotcha. For whatever reason, the HTML down here, like it put the URL in the wrong space, and we need it in those quotation marks. So I'm going to copy this and paste it right in there, and we can give it a shot one more time. Cool. So it's uploaded the image. Let's see if we can actually view that image that was just uploaded here. Okay, cool. So we've uploaded to the database servers in Blotato. So that's good. And then the last thing we need to do here, and I'm going to copy this just because we're going to need to do the same kind of setup again, is we need to publish this. And so how we do that is we can publish to a platform immediately. So again, it's going to be a post, and we're going to go to this URL this time, which is, instead of uploading, we're posting this on social media. Okay, so it's going to be this URL instead of like version 2 media, it's version 2/posts. And then same kind of deal with this content JSON down here. We need the authorization, we need the content type JSON application. And then lastly, we have this JSON data here, and we can just attach this in the body section. Okay, so we're going to delete this. And this is just the information that we're essentially asking it to publish on our behalf. So we're going to publish this to Twitter. Okay, and we want to have a media URL. So what we're going to do is inside these quotation, these like square brackets, we're going to paste something in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and publish. I'm just going to go ahead and publish like this particular URL over here. So from Blotato, when we uploaded it, it's going to give us that link. We can paste it right in here. And yeah, so that's more or less it in a nutshell. We'll also want to change out the text here as well. It says hello world. The only problem is that we actually didn't go ahead and generate any text. And so what we'd actually want to do, I'm going to backpedal here, is we'd want to have like a text column here that we could reference. So for instance, we'd want to have like Twitter caption, we'd want to have Instagram caption, and so on and so forth for all the platforms that we're using. Okay, and so how we can do this, because again, we're referencing the image and then we're referencing the captions here to promote this blog post, to increase the amount of people viewing it, is we need to generate that particular caption. And so how we can do this is when we generate this blog post, okay, we can also generate captions for all these social media posts so that it enters here. If we like it, we post it automatically by checking the box. If we don't like it, well, then we just change it and we optimize it and then we publish it. And so how we can do that is we can add in a ChatGPT node here. Okay, actually, I'm just gonna copy and paste one of these. So let's just go ahead and copy this one. Okay, and we're going to add this in here. So we're gonna add in one more ChatGPT node here. And this time, okay, we're going to unpin this data. I'm just going to say, I'm going to make this pretty short. You're an expert at creating captions for social media platforms such as Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and then what else? Facebook and TikTok, let's just say, around a blog post that we generated. The goal is to increase the amount of people viewing the blog post. Okay, sweet. And then we'll just pass in this blog post here. So we can grab the entire post that was generated. So inside this blog post here, we can just pass this in. And again, we just want to change this to first. Sweet, so it's going to pass in the output. Oops, and we also need to change the format here. So please output the data in JSON format. Okay, so we're going to go to ChatGPT, and we're going to ask it to format this. Please create me JSON data, sample JSON data for the following items. Please don't include any values. Okay, Instagram post, X, post, Facebook, post, LinkedIn, post, and TikTok, post. Okay, sweet. It's going to go ahead, generate this for us. I just want, and we have to work with this sometimes because it's not giving us exactly what we want. I just want one text field for each item. And it'll go ahead, simplify it for us even more. I don't want objects, just one text field. So we just sometimes have to keep asking it to do the same thing until we get something just like this. We can copy this in. Okay, and then we're going to execute the step up top here. And we should get the data on the right-hand side here. Awesome. So we've generated all these social media posts, okay? And then what we can do is we can just enter them in here. So we'll do Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then I'm going to do LinkedIn, and then TikTok. Sweet. So we can publish these accordingly. So I'm going to refresh the values to update here because we added in additional rows that we want to change now. And then we can just enter these in. So Instagram post here, we're going to do X post here. We'll do Facebook post here. TikTok is going to be here. And then we have LinkedIn as well. Okay, sweet. So we can go ahead and publish this. So also we just need to change this link here. This broke because we were referencing it from the previous module, but because we added this in, it broke it. So we're just going to go ahead and change this as well. So we'll go to the post over here and grab this link from here. And you'll notice it went from like JSON, whatever, to now this. We can execute this step here and it should go ahead and update all of these different items here, unless there is an error. And it looks like there was an error. So we just need to match on the keyword, which is currently empty right now. Okay. And so just for the test purposes here, I'm just going to hard code this just so that we don't have to go back and forth and change this the whole time. Cool. So we've gone ahead, we've done that. And now what we can do is we can just run this one more time. Okay. So we're going to unpin this. We're going to wait for the test webhook here, and we're going to check off social media. Okay. We need to uncheck it first, run it again, and just make sure to check this off. And this time it's going to run one more time with the data. And the reason why we're running it twice is so that it will pass this particular filter here, right? We need to make sure that the value is equal to true and not false. And if we uncheck it, it's equal to false. Cool. So now it'll run through here and we have access to this particular caption. So we'll go ahead, run the workflow. Awesome. And now we can just enter in our particular text here. Okay. So now we have access to, instead of hello world, we can put in like our LinkedIn caption here. So whichever one that was, we have the first one being LinkedIn. So we'll paste that in, okay? And now we have our image and we have LinkedIn. We can go ahead and run this and it looks like we are receiving an error. And that is just because I put a default, like a sample account ID here. We actually need to change this because I didn't actually update this to our account ID. So inside Blotato, we'll go to the settings down here and then we will copy this account ID from our X account. So you have to, first of all, connect it in. It'll appear down here. Then you can grab the account ID and then we'll paste that right in here, which would be 4612 in my instance. We'll execute the step and then we can test this out by taking a look at x.com. And now I have created my post with the image and also the caption up top here. And so that's essentially it, guys. That's how we can go about creating these posts on X or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, and you could just duplicate this and do the same process for all the other social media platforms as well. And so yeah, we can create blog posts very quickly that look very stunning And then once we create these blog posts, then we can also go ahead and publish them to all of our social media platforms, pretty much on autopilot. The best part is of course, there's a human in the loop. So we're only publishing things that we're actually proud of. Before publishing on social media, we can take a look at the image and the captions, make sure it's in alignment with our brand, and only push out things that we're happy with. So thanks guys so much for watching. If you found value in this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And lastly, if you guys haven't done so already, I highly recommend taking a look at my school community here, where I of course teach you all these skills and give you a lot of blueprints, but the 2 transformations are helping people automate up to 80% of their existing business, give you the exact roadmap blueprints that I use to scale to 7 figures, and also helping people create AI automation agencies. And I give you the exact roadmap that's worked for myself and many others as well. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.